Hey everybody, it's Jason with Modeling Pros, and I wanted to give you an update on the P-40. We are getting really close to the end. What I did tonight was I took, with the airbrush, a mixture of mostly thinner and a little bit of flat black, and I added some shading here at the exhaust on both sides. I think you can see that there. I added some shading here behind these guns, some shading here behind these guns and here. Also on the bottom, I gave a lot of the wings a real light coat of the flat black and mostly thinner. And that was really just because I wasn't very pleased with how I had done with the decals. I had not done a good job of cleaning away the decaling solution, and had also gotten a little bit of silvering effect on the decals, so I just gave them a real light flat black coat to dull down some of that shininess, to cover over a little bit of that solution that was left behind. And it still does shine a little, you can see, but there you might be able to tell on the emblem there how it looks more dirty than it did before. I did the same thing with the emblems here on top, just to kind of dull them down, make them look a little darker. The other thing that I've done, as you can see, is I've added this landing gear here, and the flaps, and this flap here, and one of the flaps back here, right there, okay? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you how I did that by doing the others. I'm using this Extreme Power medium thickness super glue, which I purchased at Hobby Lobby. And all I do is first take a piece, give it a little dry fit here. And what I mean by that is make sure it fits okay without any glue. And it does. Sometimes the manufacturers of these models, you know, they don't always do a perfect job. Sometimes you get a little bit of a misshapen piece that doesn't fit where it's supposed to, and you got to trim it a little. So you want to always give it a dry fit before you start gluing things together. So I put a little bit of that super glue on there. I'm just going to take these tweezers here, holding this piece. I'm going to slide it down into the spot where it goes, and I can hold it in place here with my hand. And then I've got this little doodad, which is really handy. I just take that flat side and kind of press that up against there, and it won't take long for that glue to dry and hold that in place. Okay, and I'll just leave that one sit, and while I'm letting it sit, I'm going to take our flap here, and I'm going to give it a dry fit, and it goes in. There we go, pretty nicely. Just going to put a little spot of glue here on each of these little pegs, these little tabs. Yeah, that's good. And I'm just going to slip this down into here. Get it to go down into the holes where it belongs. And that flap will be in the open position there, both of them on each side. And then I can take this little doodad right here, landing gear flap, put a little bit of glue on there. Grab the tweezers. Oh, dropped it. That's okay. Fortunately, it landed glue side up, so it's not really a problem. I'm going to slip that down in there and use that thing I showed you a minute ago to get it held in place. Just looking at it from the side to make sure it's fit in there correctly. Okay, That one I got just a little bit too much glue on, so I'm just going to use the other end of this to wipe some of it away. Guess I went a little insane with the glue there. Just get that wiped away. Okay, now I'm not going to bore you gluing on these last two pieces right here. I'll put those on in a minute, but there's one more thing that I did want to show you in this video, and that is our exhaust pipes here. Okay, so what I've done is I have used Testors Burnt Iron Metallizer, and Testors makes buffable and non-buffable metallizer paints. The metallizers pretty much are exclusively for airbrush, although they do make them in spray cans if you have enough to bother with, or if you want to go that route. The buffable ones, what you do is you spray the part and then give it about 10 minutes and then use a cloth to polish it and it will shine. In this case, this was a non-buffable metallizer, so it did not need to be shined. And I absolutely love these paints. This is the third time that I've used one. I used burnt metal, and I used also titanium. I used titanium on the F101 and burnt metal on the P-50's exhaust. This is burnt iron, and I just really, really like these paints. So if you have pieces that you're painting and you really want to get the authentic look of metal, I would highly recommend you use Testors Metallizers. To really give you the view of this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this off. You probably can't tell, but this is actually on silly putty, which is a lot of times how I'll hold small parts in place while I paint them. So when I pop this off here, you can see the look of the metallizer actually on the silly putty. You can compare it to the silly putty's natural color. It's just a fantastic paint. It really is. And here, I'll try to hold this up. Hopefully you'll be able to see it pretty well. It comes off just really looking like metal. So if you have something that you really want to have a metal effect, I highly recommend that. I'm not going to put these on yet until I've given the whole plane the dull coat, because I don't really want to affect that color. I want it to stay just like it is. I had told you in a previous video that what I would do is I would put some of that sludge wash down in the holes of the exhaust pipes to make them look black inside. I was actually able to get the burnt iron to go down in there, so I'm not going to need to do that. It looks pretty black as it is. But at any rate, these are ultimately going to go down into there, so you can kind of see what this is going to look like here. Well, that is if I can get it to go in, of course. Having trouble. Well, that can wait for another time, no big deal. But that's where it's going to go. Looks like I'm going to have to trim it a little bit, such is life. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add the rest of these pieces in, the small parts. And then after that, I will probably give the whole thing the dull coat. It has a couple of tiny pieces like an antenna that I haven't painted yet. I still have to do that. You know, when you go to do something like this, when you're going to apply the dull coat, you could apply the dull coat before you put on the small pieces, especially the landing gear struts, as you would imagine that they're supposed to probably look relatively shiny. It's really up to you. I decided to go ahead and put them on, and I'm going to do the dull coat afterward. I might try to somewhat avoid those landing gear struts, but it won't be the end of the world. I'll be interested to see how it looks either way. So there's the update for today, and I think the next video will probably be the last one. That'll be the big reveal. So I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll talk to you next time. Thanks.